Neeko, the disguising AP burst mage that appears out of nowhere, with a huge teamfight ult that makes her a great mid and support in high elo. That is until I found this player, Hatsune Neeko, a Challenger AD Neeko top player who turned this teamfighting AP mage into a split-pushing, high DPS, CCing assassin that can kill anyone while they're stuck in her CC chain. Gone are the days of Neeko only killing squishies, now she can kill anyone. A minion walks up at you, CCs you and 100 to zeros you with no chance to respond. This is the best AD Neeko in the world, and he has done it with 6 completely new mind game and clone tricks this player has found, letting him abuse the clone for more healing, more tower damage, more attack speed, more range, and lots of other crazy things. And not only that, he even used a new bug synergy with one item that makes her late game ridiculous. This has been in the game ever since she was on PBE, so once again we're here to help Riot fix their game. This is one of the highest level players we've ever covered, and he gave me all of the tricks and tiny details he used to go from hard stuck to challenger in just one season. Hatsune Neeko, also known as LOL Weiro, an expert in playing Neeko with multiple builds, and currently the best AD Neeko in the world, but he wasn't always. In fact, when he started playing League back in Season 2, he spent over 6 months in Bronze 4, close to the lowest possible rank at the time. Only just climbing to Silver after hundreds of hours of grinding, it was a slow start. Things got better the next year in Season 3, swapping to becoming a top lane main, and climbing to Diamond for the first time. But Season 4 is where things really got bad. He wanted to hit Masters more than anything, but after 12 full months being hard stuck in Diamond 5, he hadn't moved at all. The next season he swapped roles. Surely it couldn't be worse than being hard stuck for 12 months. Well, yes it was. By the end of Season 6, he was still stuck in Diamond 5. Season 7, 8, you guessed it, still Diamond 5. This is where most streamers or pros would recommend you give up. It had been years, surely he'd proven this was his peak rank, and trying more would just be hopeless. But in Season 9, his prayers were answered. Neeko was released. Literally the first day of PBE, he logged on to try it out, and right away he knew he wouldn't be playing AP. He checked her skills and immediately decided she'd be a great AD pick, and couldn't wait to try and convince others it was possible. With a total of 0 AP Neeko games played, Weiro spammed AD Neeko the whole season, and finally achieved Masters rank for the first time, all thanks to this off-meta pick. Season 10 he began streaming his climb, trying to spread the love of this pick, and by Season 12 he reached Grandmaster. Then in Season 14, for the first time he hit Challenger. With more bot lane and AD carry nerfs on the way, Neeko top still has a bright future, and that's quite lucky as he even got a Neeko tattoo on his arm, which surprisingly looks pretty great. But why is he playing this pick? Well, there's one reason why AD Neeko can work: her W passive. This ability is mainly a clone, but it also gives every third attack free magic damage. So the more attack speed you buy, the more he procs his empowered autos, even maxing this ability first. This turns Neeko top into an amazing lane bully, not just thanks to her range poke, but having the low cooldown route on E that means no dive champion can ever get to her, as well as her W that forces enemies to take a 50-50 guess every time they go in, making her even more slippery. In lane, she's one of the safest poke top laners in the game, and then by mid game she becomes a huge split push threat that can easily control side lane and 1v1 lots of the meta top laners. But more importantly, this build fixes Neeko's biggest issue, her lack of DPS. Usually the champion only has burst damage, and is unable to beat bruisers and tanks in the mid and late game, but AD Neeko can shred bruisers and tanks with this AD build, and even has the option to go for a more tanky build. So if enemies pick all 1 damage type, like magic, he can adapt and go Wit's End into more, even Terminus and Jack Show, still having great CC and good damage. But the real reason you're picking this is to 1v1 anyone in the late game. The damage just doesn't compare to AP. At level 1, he's already doing something completely unexpected, starting W. This is completely different to AP Neeko, who would be happy with either Q or E, but never W, immediately unlocking the 3-hit passive, and hitting enemies. The range is a lot higher than people expect, 550, so basically the same as a good AD carry. Each third auto attack does the free magic damage, but importantly also gives Neeko movement speed for 1 second, so she can easily kite away after she does it. It's harass and escape in the same ability, it's perfect. Of course already also having the clone to escape if the enemy all-ins. Level 2 she takes her E, and saves it for if the enemy walks too far up. She always wants to throw it through minions onto the enemy to empower it and more than double the root duration, and this just lets her get more auto attacks off while they're rooted. Level 3 he takes his Q, still great poke early game and good for wave clear. His game plan early on is all about bullying the enemy top laner, pushing, taking plates, and of course going for 1v1 kills. The usual problem with this far out playstyle is when you get ganked. But Neeko doesn't care. Whenever a jungler shows up, she can root them, and always use the clone to get away. It's not just for mind games, it can also dodge abilities like this. Our player plays with Ignite Flash pretty much every game, but can play Ignite Ghost against matchups like Jax, Fiora, or Darius. Anyone who's going to chase you, he's happy to just ghost away and keep hitting them. At level 6 he gets his ult, which is perfect for 2v2s or 3v3s. The base damage on this is still amazing, and more importantly it's a good CC. Since Neeko is now an AD auto attacker, she's going to get dived onto, and this ability can be used to now counter engage, rooting anyone who was going for her and giving her time to kite away while still auto attacking them. But my favourite way he uses them is to set up 1v1 kills. If the enemy ever wastes their dash, that's a sign for Neeko to walk up, even using his W for the bonus movement speed to get in range for an E root. This route sets up her ultimate CC, so if you time it well, the enemies won't have an escape, and Neeko can keep autoing throughout, adding the ignite to finish off the kill. As soon as you die once to Neeko, you're going to die over and over again, because her CC is so strong. It's really hard to turn this lane around. And it gets even worse when he gets Berserker Greaves to make him even faster and harder to catch. That is, if they don't just die under their own tower because they don't expect your damage. His first item every game is Blade of the Ruin King. The reason for this is that it fixes AD Neeko's problem of having very low base AD. It also gives you lifesteal to have more sustain in laning phase, and it's perfect in top lane against so many champions. His next goal is to win lane as fast as possible, and this is where his 6 special clone tricks start. These are truly the best parts of AD Neeko. The first trick he uses is when he's trying to take tower before 14 minutes. A lot of people don't know this, but ranged champions have their early damage to towers nerfed, meaning that melee champions deal more damage. Since Neeko is ranged, she should do less. But if you use the passive to transform into a melee champion, she will gain this bonus damage. So in this clip she does 48 damage as herself, then transforms into Yone to do 59 damage on the first tower plate. The second trick is also to take towers faster. This is probably her best split pushing strategy, and it's to do with VOIDGRUBS. We don't think this is a bug, but since ranged champions also do less damage with VOIDGRUBS, you can again transform into a melee champion to do more VOIDGRUB damage. Neeko only gets 6 damage per tick, but Viego gets 12 damage per tick, and these just add up to help you take towers much faster. More of these tricks later on, but for now Neeko is moving into the enemy jungle and stealing camps, as she has bonus monster damage on her Q and her W, so she's really good at counter jungling. In mid game she starts split pushing to get towers, especially tier 2 top and bot lane, to get the bonus gold. And here he buys his second item, Rage Blade. He gets so much attack speed with this item, and it also synergizes with Blade of the Ruin King. The interaction with Rage Blade also lets her proc her empowered auto attacks twice when fully stacked, and this shreds tanks super quickly. Then buying Kraken Slayer, another synergy item with her build, giving her even more attack speed and more procs, and these enable the rest of his special mind games and tricks. Number 3, a free one that many people already know about, but is vital for AD Neeko as well. Of course, it's transforming into a melee minion, going to the front of the wave, and then just waiting. Even challenger enemies don't always count the minions on every single wave, and as soon as they get caught, AD Neeko will shred them immediately. His fourth trick is a special interaction with higher range champions when you transform into them. He thinks this one's probably a bug that's not intended, but whenever you transform into a champion that has higher range than you, Neeko will gain that range. And this is amazing for harass in lane, especially if your team has a Caitlyn or an Ashe, as then you just gain their absurd attack range and can keep autoing the enemy no matter where they are. And you'll never guess his fifth trick, Neeko also gains bonus attack speed whenever he transforms into a champion with a higher attack speed ratio than his. So in this clip he transforms into a Zac to take the tower quicker, with the attack speed going from 1.63 to 1.69, which makes a difference when you add it to all of the others. And his final trick using this is that you get more healing on fleet footwork when you transform into a melee champion as well. You don't get the penalty of being a ranged champion, so you heal even more. He even has one special trick up his sleeve, the W active recall, to get more vision on bushes. The clone is only supposed to last for 3 seconds, but if you press the recall button when it's out, the clone will start recalling and give you vision for up to 8 seconds extra. I don't know how this is still in the game, but it's so useful, please use it. As the game gets later on, you can pretty much 1v1 anyone, happy to hide in a bush and wait for someone to walk up and one-shot them while they're stuck in a CC chain. It's so oppressive and unfair, there's a reason only a few champions can do this. And now it's time to help Riot fix their game with the bug synergy on an item that makes Neeko into an even better late game monster. You can build Runan's Hurricane on Neeko, and this has an interaction with her W empowered passive. If you auto attack an opponent while there are 2 minions or enemies nearby, you instantly proc your empowered autos in just one hit. In theory, I guess this makes sense, but in reality, it kind of just immediately kills whoever it is. So I guess it's a fine interaction if it's not built that often, and thank you to Wero for sharing the secret with us. To rate this pick, many viewers go into Wero's stream to ask him if this is viable in low elo, and he always tells them yes. This pick is viable in most ranks because of how good range tops can be, and especially in the lower ranks because people don't know how to beat them. Even in high ranks though, we've seen AD Neeko top in pro play before, and it's clearly still working well if he's playing it in Challenger. I think AD Neeko is a hugely underrated pick, that I expect to see quite soon in the meta to match the AD carry priority we're seeing in every role. And of course you can always pivot to AP if your team needs it. He bans Irelia or Rengar most games, and there are a few hard matchups like these. These are playable and you're likely to come out even if you play well, but every single other matchup is completely free, he says, for Neeko to win. Here's his full build, which we've been through most of already, but after Kraken Slayer he can add in situational items like Terminus to get tankier, same for Wit's End, Runan's Hurricane for maximum damage, Hullbreaker if you want to split push even more, or if he needs to be more frontline he can get tankier with Shield Bow, Jack Show, even Guardian Angel or more are fine. And of course Neeko can go AP items as well. He has the option to go Zhonya's, benefiting from all of the damage. He can also go this tankier build if his team needs it. Again, still some early damage with the boots and the Blade of the Ruin King, but then Terminus, Jack Show, Rage Blade, Wit's End or Kraken Slayer are all good enough. Still having great damage but just being a bit harder to kill. He has two favourite rune pages that press the attack page for the highest damage, taking Overgrowth and Conditioning in the secondaries, and he says these are super important for late game to stop him getting one-shot. The Fleet Footwork page for more sustain is good, especially where you can't trade early on, for example against poke champions like the new Skarner, Kennen, Vayne or Jace. He can even take this Grasp of the Undying page, if he needs to really be a lot tankier, especially against an AP assassin jungler. Wero has a Twitch, as well as YouTube and a Twitter, linked to all of them in the description. If you want to see him climbing through Challenger, then please check them out. A quick update on my health, it's going well, and I have a ton of off-meta topics saved up. Thank you everyone for wishing me well in the comments. Thanks so much for watching.